Hello everyone, we are from group 7 and my name is Cindy Andini and I will start our presentation. Before that, the topic today is language and social class or ethnicity. And this is table of content. And I will explain about social class and access to language learning. According to Helmes and Meyerhoff, 2003, social class has a strong influence on a language use and language learning opportunities, since access to education and resources of often depends on socio-economic background. For example, Helmes and Meyerhoff mentioned that working class children may have fewer changes to be exposed to standard or prestigious uh, varieties of a language, while middle or upper class learners are more likely to encounter formal education, private tutoring, or media that reinforce those varieties. This factor affect learners in reading, writing, listening, and speaking because exposure to different language varieties shapes both their opportunities to learn and their confidence in using the language. A limitation or challenge in is that students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds may not have equal access to quality language instruction, materials, or technology, which can limit their progress compared to with wealthier peers. Now, limitation. Um, Now let's look at how this work in practice. For instance, in many contexts, children from middle-class families might attend bilingual schools or use digital apps for practice, while children from lower-income families may rely only on classroom instruction with limited resources. Maybe that's all from me. I give to the next speakers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. So now I will continue with ethnic diversity and language Indonesia. Zen Gobel's chapter examines how language diversity and change in Indonesia can be better understood by looking at 5 interrelated concepts: language, diversity, change, value, and imitations. He traces these themes historically and links them to shifts in politics, media, and everyday interactions. The first one is New Order era from 1960 until 1990. Standard Indonesian was promoted as the only legitimate language. Ethnic and mixed varieties were devalued. Standard Indonesian stood at the top. Standardized regional language occupied the middle, and everyday mixed or endangered language were considered inferior. This period thus reinforced a monoglossic ideology where the use of pure Indonesian was strongly tied to ideas of being modern, educated, and loyal to the nations. And the second is 1990s media shift. The landscape began to change in 1990. due to deregulation of media and the growth of private television networks. Accommodating for large audiences, TV producers began incorporating ethnic and colloquial speech styles into entertainment programs. Comedy shows, soap operas, and music increasingly featured language mixing, combining fragments of Javanese, Sundanese, Betawi, or English with Indonesian. After 1998, decentralization and democratization further transformed the value of language. Local governments, empowered with fiscal and political autonomy, began to emphasize ethnic and regional identities to legitimize their autonomy. This included revitalizing regional language and cultural expressions as sources of authenticity. The third one is post 1998 is regional governments revitalize ethnic languages as symbols of authenticity and political legitimacy. And current everyday practice is multilingualism and hybridity are normalized, mixing languages signals solidarity, creativity, and cultural pride. Overall implication is ethnic diversity and language mixing strength rather than weaken Indonesia's plural national identity.
Okay, thank you for Haila. Next, the last point is implication for teaching English in diverse classroom. So first, let me define the concept. So linguistic diversity refers to the presence of multiple languages and language varieties within one community or classroom, according to UNESCO 2017. So in education, this means students bring different mother tongues, cultural backgrounds, and language practice into English classroom. So according to Erling, Folch, Siwick, and Brumer 2022 argue that teachers often view this multilingualism from a deficit perspective. So considering it is a problem, however, they also identify pockets of possibility. So where teachers embrace linguistic diversity as an asset through strategies like translanguaging, the use of two or more language flexibly to support learning, according to Garcia and Wei. So, for example, in an English class in Yogyakarta, a teacher might ask a student to brainstorm ideas in their mother tongue. Example like Javanese or Sundanese. So then students translate and share them in English. This helps students connect new concepts to their existing knowledge while also valuing their local identity. So this is especially so wait. So this is especially very important in Indonesia, where classrooms are highly multilingual. So by using inclusive practice such as differentiated instruction, critical multicultural education, and translanguaging, teachers can make English learning more meaningful and equitable for all students. And the last part is conclusion. To conclude my part, teaching English in diverse classroom requires seeing diversity as a resource, not a barrier. This mindset leads to more inclusive and effective English language teaching. So we have discussed how language use is closely shaped by social class and multilingual diversity. So from Holmes and Meyerhoff insights on social class, we saw that unequal access to education and resources affect how individuals acquire and use language. From Google Analysis, we learned that Indonesia's language have shift. Hierarchy has shift over time. So that's showing that language practices respond to political, cultural, and media influences. Finally, we explored how the sociolinguistic realities affect English language teaching, emphasizing that diversity should be viewed as a valuable resource rather than a barrier. So, in a sense, understanding the interplay between language, society, and education help us design more equitable and inclusive classroom. When we value students' diverse linguistic backgrounds and use approaches such as translanguaging, we not only support better learning outcomes but also respect their identities. This perspective is essential in today's interconnected and multilingual world. Okay, thank you. That's all from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.